No, that would be for a Dracula podcast.
Hey, welcome.
Roar, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural era of What Dinosaur Real Good, where we dig through the fossil record to try and determine what dinosaur or simply prehistoric creature, because we would run. There are some great contenders that aren't technically dinosaurs we're going to want to get to. Which one's the most real good? I think that's all I really have to say about it. With me I'm your host for this episode, Michael Swaim. Co-hosts, please introduce yourselves.
Hey, it's me. My name's Bridgett Greenberg.
And it's me, Abe Epperson. And so today we're going to listen, Bridgett, to what Michael, thinks is a real good dinosaur.
Yeah. You're my Voicelociraptor pack.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I didn't pre-think of that. I'm sure you're astounded because it was so amazingly clever, but that was fucking spur of the moment.
Here's a question that just came to mind.
I was just about to yell the name of my dinosaur.
Oh no. Wait, I stole the
Point
thunder.
of order. Bridgett has the floor.
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to reveal how little I really know about dinosaurs, but I'm looking forward to learning with everyone. What constitutes a dinosaur? Is there like specific criteria of what is a dinosaur and what's just like real old?
I think Abe knows more than us too.
As far as I'm aware, it's some.
What is dinosaur?
It's
Abe?
like, I mean, obviously reptilian.
Okay.
Or like, but,
unless they were feathered.
But the definition of that is weird because their birds were reptilian too. But underwater. There's technically not an underwater marine dinosaur that I'm aware of.
Like in taxonomy.
Oh man, I'm so excited.
They wouldn't call it a dinosaur. Even the ones where you're like, come on, that's just an underwater dinosaur.
I think prove this wrong now.
But we're gonna probably include that just because we want to just talk about the coolest things we can think of.
Coolest monsters.
Like there's a microorganism I want to talk about. There's like a bunch of other stuff.
It's my episode.
But there's we got the Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods going.
So anything that looks like a monster.
Yeah,
an above ground monster.
No, but there's a bunch of things that look like monsters that aren't in those periods.
That is true.
So historians say, well, that's not a dinosaur then. But
larger
we don't
question,
care about that on this.
what is a monster? Are we a monster?
Yeah.
What monster real good?
You know the answer when you ask it. It's man.
Yeah.
We've all seen the Twilight Zone.
Oh God. But
the most dangerous game.
I'm sure we'll have a better definition for this show as we move along.
Yeah. I disagree. I think it's fully defined and doesn't need further definition. But we'll see.
Well, we are not paleontologists, but here we go.
The thing I didn't expect is discussion beforehand. I want to say my dinosaur.
Okay.
I'll stop being a huge distraction.
It's time for Swaim to get the sandbox.
Well, it's not general dinosaur chat.
Yeah, no,
it's what dinosaur
I just want to lay some groundwork on what is dinosaur.
Dinosaur is real good, hopefully.
Dinosaur is real good.
I will say, I think we'll all learn, because you learn incidental stuff as you're researching your dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So, I am not going to look into it for this show, but I hope to stumble upon, by doing this show, information about were they feathers or scales. So we'll get into that stuff, but we're not going to say stuff we haven't learned yet.
Yeah.
So what have you learned?
All I became an expert on, for the purposes of this episode, is the Glyptodon.
The Glyptodon.
The Glyptodon, which is today's dinosaur. The easiest way to describe it, or the way all paleontologists tend to describe it, there's many quotes, but they all basically say it's the same size and weight as a Volkswagen Beetle. Mm-hmm. So a car that is no longer made, but hopefully is still fresh in our memories. It's
no longer made?
They stopped making the classic Beetle, which again is not the topic of this show.
I love that you used an extinct car to define an extinct animal.
It was a large armored mammal, so technically not a dinosaur because it has warm blood, so it's already not a dinosaur.
Already breaking your own format.
To describe it coming at you, it's a relative of the armadillo, but it looks like the largest turtle that ever walked the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. And as they say, it's roughly the size of a Volkswagen Bug. Damn, the one thing I thought I'd be able to do is show you guys pictures, but that's really hard.
Yeah.
With everything plugged into the system. But so I'll continue to describe it, which is great because the people can't see pictures anyway.
I know you said size, but I immediately assumed shape.
Right. So now pause. Think of
its paws.
a turtle that's that big. Yeah. That's the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. And my
Beetle turtle.
Beetle turtle. Which
Beetle
comes
turd.
down to roughly the skeletons we have 11 feet in length, 3.3 meters.
Okay.
4.9 feet high. So it's like lower and flatter than a beetle.
Right.
Every time I say beetle, I mean the car, not a beetle.
Not an actual.
And it was like a turtle. It had these insane bones. Like, okay, you know how your jaw muscle goes from like your cheekbone to the bottom of your jaw?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They had a bunch of extra ridged bones because they had like 8 of those. So they could crush anything with their mouth.
Do we know what it ate?
It was herbivorous. They were herbivores.
They're herbivores.
But back then, as we'll get to, I think also, I'm going to cover some plants eventually.
Oh, good.
Ooh.
There were plants that were, like you had to be able to bite through twigs and spines and just swallow that shit and process it, which is why humans originally, why we have our appendix. The appendix's function was to digest
Grass,
kinds of,
right?
kinds of plants that we can't digest anymore.
Right.
So the appendix stopped serving a function.
Right.
But when we ate just like handfuls of grass
And
pulled from the
clay
ground,
and mud.
the appendix was like, just send it down here. I'll figure something out.
I'll clean it up.
somewhere."
Is that something green in that like bog? Let me just get a
Yeah,
handful of that
exactly.
and put it down my horrible maw.
Wait, so its jaw was like a nutcracker, essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like a
basically.
heavy duty nutcracker.
Big flat teeth. It probably could do nuts. I'm sure nuts. Probably the shells of other. Well, okay, so I'll get to that. They don't know if they ate these things, but they did bite living things. You know what I mean? Like in fights and stuff.
They bit. They're biters.
There's fossil evidence of them using their teeth to crush the vertebrae of something that's trying to eat them. But they believe that when they went out to eat, they were looking for plants. I also just love fucking words, so I'll throw this out there. Glyptodon's part of the superorder of placental mammals known as Xenartha. This clade of mammals.
Clade. Yeah.
What is a
I
clade?
learned that one
Explain,
too.
Abe.
Well, I don't actually
No,
because it's
okay.
like it's within a bracket of it's a taxonomy.
Yeah, taxonomic
Oh,
term.
it's in that like hierarchy
Like
of
for-
But
Yeah.
doesn't it
phylum
sound
and-
like what?
genus and
Phylum
But what
and
is a
meh.
clade specifically?
It sounds like what a guild of elves would be in the
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings
Clade.
universe. Like 8 clades ride at midnight on
Like,
the horse plane.
I imagine like the blood drips from my clade. You know? It's just
That's
like
true.
an elvish sword.
Yeah.
Orc blood is called clud.
Yeah.
And when it's on your blade,
The
it's
clade
a clade.
blood.
It's a you got a cluddy clade.
Yeah.
Also, the clade it belongs to, let's not overlook, is called
Of course not.
Xenarthra. Like we're Lord of the
Whoa.
Rings up to our eyeballs in
Xenarthra.
this. Starting with an X, Xenarthra. And also, the first part of the sentence
That's a
was...
space game that's Space Jumanji.
That's
is
true.
what that
That's,
is.
oh, well, Zathura.
Zathura, yeah.
The other part, the first part that we skipped right over also is they are defined as being part of an order of mammals called the placental mammals.
Right. I
Which,
was gonna
yes,
ask.
means...
That's the name of my band.
I think a lot of this
Nice.
podcast... That's great.
Nice.
I think with their, like, hit single, Daddy Cut the Cord.
Oh.
Does Daddy want to cut
Oh.
the cord? I do think a lot of this podcast will involve just, like, imagine this. So...
Yeah.
Imagine the size of the placenta.
Like
The-
a human.
the-
Of the dinosaur.
The placenta comes out when you give birth. This is a
Right.
mammal that gives birth in the classic human way. So a turtle the size of a Volkswagen pauses,
Wait.
squats down,
Yeah.
and a baby turtle comes out. It doesn't lay eggs, the Glyptodon. It's a mammalian, even though it looks like a turtle. A baby turtle comes out, attached to a placenta that I have to imagine is roughly proportionate to its size.
Yeah.
So maybe a placenta the size of that couch.
Gross.
Just rotting in the Pleistocene sun.
Man.
I love that. I love how scientists like give names to things, like because they're all over the board. It depends, but with that one, it's very clear. It's just like, oh yeah, they clearly have like a cloaca of some kind, and they're just like, yeah, this group of animals over here, they're just like, birth is just crazy. Let's call them the placenta ones.
They're the cloacal superorder.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I mean, that is of note.
After Space Force, we're going to get the cloacal superorder.
Well, in comparison to like some of the larger animals we have now, because like we've all seen YouTube videos of elephant births. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not weird in that. That's a normal thing we've all seen.
You see it once and then you're like, I got it.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's still, I feel like at 11 feet long and 5 feet high.
Is that fully grown?
It's like slightly bigger than a rhino.
Right.
Yeah. Rhinos exist, so that's the way to wrap your head around it.
Whoa.
I'm going to need
Like
an
a rhino
extinct
turtle.
car or animal.
A rhino beetle turtle. Although they're actually closely related to armadillos. If you look at them online, the artist illustrations of what they think they might have looked like look more like a giant armadillo.
I feel like a lot of dinosaurs, because the one I'm not going to spoil. I'm not going to spoil the gold I have.
I mean, we're just.
It's true.
He's basically just a tank, a low. Low gravity, just like, I'm just gonna like fucking tear up all that's like 4 feet and below. Mm-hmm. That shit is my domain.
I feel like that's a lot of dinosaurs are just like armadillos. I know they say birds, but I don't believe that. I believe visually, based on no facts or science, armadillos are the
dinosaurs
closest.
Evolved to?
Yeah.
Well, they
based on
they got an exoskeleton kind of deal.
Yeah, they roll up into little balls.
shielding,
You hit them with
not
their
an
cars, and they do nothing. They don't die. So you know.
Yeah.
It is true that and I think this will probably be true of lots of dinosaurs. There have been like 12 names for it. Like as you go back, of course, Darwin himself discovered the very first Glyptodon bone.
Oh.
But wasn't able to like get enough of a skeleton together to really conjecture as to what it might be. Mm-hmm. But he shipped the bones to other scientists who were willing to guess. So they like people, slammed skeletons together that weren't quite right, said what they thought it could be, named it after themselves. And it took like 80 years to settle on Glyptodon. Related to as well as armadillos, but also anteaters and ground sloths, which is why in all the drawings you'll see online, I think because you see it and you think of an armadillo, they draw it like an armadillo. Right. But there's a new school of thought. There's a new school of Glyptodon thought, you guys. It's really popping off right now. Maybe you saw Kanye tweet about the new school of Glyptodon thought. Is that it probably had a snout like an anteater or elephant, snuffled along the ground, sucking up fucking anything, and just like chomp, 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 chomp. It's like a lawnmower that just fucking destroys.
One of the grossest things I can think of. Like hummingbirds, like they're so beautiful, but like they like just like
really
sticking
gross.
Their long
tongue through a hole,
like
in the dirt. To get whatever's down there.
And it just like flickers all, like uncontrollably in all directions.
Do you think they just ate the dinosaur placenta that was everywhere?
Oh, of course.
Well, what I immediately realized is when I said rotting in the sun, I'm like, if they didn't eat it, other animals came and ate it. Something ate that placenta.
I mean, that still exists now. There are still plenty of animals that give birth in the wild that...
really quirky, I guess, is the word. Moms will sometimes eat a piece of the placenta because it's believed it gets all your like... what is it? Like your
crystals,
your hormones. Your hormones aligned with the baby's hormones or something like that.
Mercury's in retrograde, and you eat a little bit of placenta.
You eat the crystals,
and and Zool will not capture you.
They moved really slow.
Xenu.
And they didn't have to eat as much as you'd think because they moved really slow. So they're like turtles in that way. They're kind of like an ancient Roomba because also their shell was like 3.5 centimeters thick, if you can imagine. Yeah. And there's very little evidence until I get to my bombshell. I got to keep an eye on the time because I actually have a twist that I have yet to drop.
It ain't humans.
M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night Glyptodon. Come on, man.
No. Can't leave it on the table like that.
But it's believed that, let's see, evidence that its diet consisted primarily of... Oh boy, this is going to be a fun part of this cast. Dicotyledonous trees and monocotyledonous grasses.
Of course.
And I did click through those links, and it's just like, this grass produces with this seed in this way, this grass produces in this. Like Abe said, at some point, there was a guy in the Explorers Club who's just like, on his pipe, anything with this shape of seed is Diclonotonitus.
Yeah. And I found it, so I get to name it. None of you get to name it. Yeah. I have a pipe.
But they were basically, there's no evidence until the twist drops, which I'm coming to, that they ever really fought. And they can find very little skeletons that are damaged. So these were like Roombas in the sense that most of the other creatures alive at the time probably just fucking left them alone. Like tried to fight one, couldn't get through the shell, left it alone. And you're like, yeah, those are just those buses that drive around and eat the floor. Like they just clean the floor.
Right.
Yeah.
Those big, I love that. I love that.
They're good guys.
I think we're all, it's interesting to me because as we'll see, we'll focus on like carnivores and different stuff, but our ad hoc positions all seem to be like, just like tanks that are like, don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I think there's something about that though, in terms of dinosaurs, is that everything is dangerous. So our monkey brains go like, well, if I was a dinosaur during, the Mesozoic period, what I would do is I would just be super protected.
All defense.
Right.
Yeah, all defense.
Like all defense
all the
is
time.
also effective. No one can fuck with you anyway. Yeah.
Right, because there's so many claws and teeth out there.
And I'm sure we'll eventually get to T-Rex and Velociraptor, but why start where everyone's already been before?
That's what
We've all seen Land Before Time.
Impulse.
I want to know the twist.
Boy, Littlefoot. Okay, yeah, we're closing in on the halfway point, so I'll get there. But yeah, they thought it might have had a trunk. I already went over that. In case some people might be interested in this, I am. I realize it might not be interesting, but I like to know where they were roughly. Mm-hmm. These guys spanned from the middle part of Central America, South America, through Central America was their main hub, and then like the bottom part of North America. Like there's a rare chance we could run into one like in San Diego, but not much more north than that.
Right.
They also had rod monochromacy, which means their eyes had only one rod in them, which means they probably only saw red like you see when you're in a dark room, or because that's the useful thing to see, is the only reason they make that assumption, or they probably saw only black and white values of how bright or dark something is.
Right.
And it's believed that they were so defensed in that they probably only used sight in extreme circumstances or at night or in low light conditions.
And they didn't move around much.
And they didn't need to see or even know what was more than a few feet away from them, because unless it was a cliff, it wouldn't hurt them. Like, a dinosaur would bump into them. They'd wonder what it is, but it left and it's no threat. So they didn't have to look at it or identify what it is. So they had shitty eyes and they were just going around. Evidence for predation on them is extremely rare. Yeah. So that's what I was saying, is no one could fuck with them. And then the bomb to drop is, so they existed in the, I wrote this down, so let me get it right. They existed in the Pleistocene epoch, which it's a big epoch.
Yeah, that's all dinosaurs are
from 2.5 million years ago all the way to just 11,000 years ago.
Ah.
And this dinosaur, or it's not a dinosaur, sorry, this
guy,
Xenarthra of the superorder of placental mammals.
We call it a buddy.
This
little guy.
He lived so long that he overlapped with humans.
Whoa!
And the only time they see them start getting killed is humans would kill them and use the shell as, I have a house now. This shell is my house.
Whoa!
So that's fucking, imagine if you saw a small village of like 6 structures and they're all turtle shells. It's like a fantasy novel.
What was its longevity, by the way?
Oh, I did not run across that I feel like it's got to be up there because
I mean, although you said it's mammalian, though,
right? It's really slow moving. It eats
mammalian.
very little.
It's not turtle-like, other than it has a shell,
right? Which they consider the reason it's so similar to armadillo is they call that convergent evolution. It works. Right. It's a usable strategy. So just because multiple life forms ended on that strategy doesn't mean they're related necessarily.
But it doesn't lay eggs,
Yeah.
It does. It's like one of those weird missteps of nature, like the fucking platypus.
It was originally called by one of the wacky scientists like the Alephapus, like a platypus elephant, because that was his best guess of what he thought it would look like.
I don't know what this is. So here are 2 things that I do know what they are.
Yeah.
That is.
What the fuck is that? Blink, motherfucker!
But it's usually now that's going to be dated reference. But yeah, so what I love is if you search Glyptodon, Glyptodon, you'll see the standard images, but then you'll also see images of like a giant sloth trying to fuck with a Glyptodon because they overlapped. It overlapped with stuff that you wouldn't expect. You'll see cavemen with spears, naked and hunched over, about to hunt a Glyptodon. My question is, I wish I could show you guys this picture. So next session we'll find a way to show pictures, but if this cord comes out, everything is lost. But it's like cavemen behind a bush. One has a spear ready. The other one is squatting down like you would squat to like poo.
Yeah.
I'm like, you really want to make that picture realistic? Poo should be coming out of that butt. Because they're squaring off against a fucking scary thing. And here's the thing. If you started killing it, it would fight back, presumably. Right. And its teeth can crush anything. Oh, that's something I do have, so I should look it up. Physicists study the structure of the bones to find out, like, how much it could possibly crush.
Like tension and torso. Yeah.
And I didn't copy and paste the numbers, but basically they determined that it could crush through a human femur and it could crush another Glyptodon shell if it needed to.
Whoa.
And it could crush a human skull. So
them some jobs.
It was slow and shitty, and I'm sure we found ways to get the advantage on them.
Right.
But if I were naked fighting a rhino, there would be no disincentive to not allow my bowels to void. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And also, I'll end on this. This is the best picture of tail they have, and you can find it, Abe, if you search Glyptodon tail. I mean, not picture, but this is a fully completed tail. Fuck are they called? Indiana Jones cares about them. Fossil they found. And
we're running a show about dinosaurs here. You got to know the word fossil,
I guess Indiana Jones cares more about religious artifacts,
right.
But it looks exactly like the thing from the Fantastic Four, is my point.
Oh.
And they use their tail as a weapon, and it's like, it would be like the size of a human arm, fully prehensile, and it has octagonal plates all over it. It looks, and it's orange. It looks like the thing's arm if it ended in a stump, and it has circles of spines all down the length. So I still feel like even though they were slow, they probably took out some humans in the process.
It's
of being
not that
slaughtered.
long of a tail, though.
No.
They sound like just like a big lumbering thing that you wouldn't want to fuck with.
But it's probably just to bat things away.
But in like a hurricane, how good is that shell house?
That is a good shell house.
How good is that shell house?
Yeah, that shell house is
when
dope.
like the other tribe is doing like mud and straw houses,
right.
You're like, Shell Village is the place to be.
You said in a hurricane, and for some reason my mind went to Twister, where the cow is going around.
And so you thought of a Glyptodon flying.
That's never a bad place for your mind to be.
That's where we got like the spinning shell from.
And it's actually believed, maybe one of our earliest. I mean, way before the cowboys did it to the buffaloes, Glyptodon were made extinct by overhunting. One of the earliest animals.
Like we just fucked them up.
Humans extinctified.
That makes sense. I mean, they have a great resource, it sounds like.
And even though I just spelled out how they could still kill you, I bet they're slow. And if you're a group of humans, you could figure out a trap for them and something, you know?
Yeah. So you described it like a turtle, and you said they use their shells as a house. Is it... Not that a turtle is super removable from its shell, but is its shell like separate from its...
No, their limbs did not retract into their shell, which armadillos also don't. They roll into a ball, which is different.
Right.
And in fact...
So they had to like scoop this dinosaur out. Yeah.
And in fact, their vertebrae, a bunch of them are fused together.
Oh, okay.
So, which means the Glyptodon,
meant you had rooms.
Much like a dog in the Shaun of the Dead universe, could not look up.
Oh.
They could only look straight or down.
Oh, buddy.
And and their tail and their head was always out. So I imagine if you're a wily prehistoric human, you're probably looking for a way to just obliterate that head as fast as you can. You know, like
you got to get them at the neck.
You go for the head.
Down a ridge or something.
Well, you go for the head.
Nothing. They don't fear the aerial creatures at all because they like couldn't grab them because they're just like this dome of like rock essentially.
Yeah.
So they couldn't pick
Dome of the
them.
Rock.
They couldn't pick them up because they're a fucking.
No, they couldn't be moved or flipped. I would
They're a
think.
sports car.
Yeah. They
Right.
weighed 2.2 tons.
Yeah.
Whoa,
on average.
That's a big dude.
Yeah, roughly the same as a Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah. For
It is exactly a Volkswagen.
It's a
Vegan.
Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah,
it was an
yeah.
early viral marketing campaign for Volkswagen.
so you'd
That
have to
was a
go for the
lemon.
neck, go for the
Yeah.
turn it over, go for the legs, I guess.
And you
But-
just made me realize, I wonder if there were shitty teen cavemen who would just
fucked with
chill
it.
out by climbing up on the back.
Right,
Just
because it couldn't like
'cause
get you.
It's so big. Couldn't you get on its back and just
But
ride
you said it had
Glyptodon
that
all
big.
day?
It had
Yeah,
that big
it's
tail,
like-
so it wouldn't just like whips.
But the tail's vertebrae are fused. So
Oh,
it's not
so
like
it
a
can't go
scorpion
up.
tail.
Yeah.
If you could somehow claw your way onto the very top of the shell, I think it couldn't get you. And if you didn't fuck with it, I have to imagine it would eventually give up and just wander around.
It sounds like.
And then you'd be like, I'm the Glyptodon
I
rider.
mean,
the
let's be
legendary.
frank. There's only a few ways cavemen could get cave women to think that they're cool. So they had to surfboard on these
on the-
armadillos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like pimp my Glyptodon.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
What
yeah,
up, girl?
Ending on the sad note.
They all
they're
dead now?
extinct.
They're all
all
dead,
dead.
and that's believed because they found many pits that were slaughter pits, where it's
Nice.
life finds a way. Because
Right.
humans, we don't know exactly how they
Yeah.
did it, but they led 150 Glyptodon here and killed them all. So they found some kind of trick.
Right, that would make sense. Drop it in a pit, and then you can just bop it on the head and kill it.
Yeah,
That's-
they've found a bunch of slaughter pits that are equal parts Glyptodon and Megatherium. Did anyone pick Megatherium
No.
this time?
No.
We'll definitely do Megatherium eventually, so I'll just say what it is, but it's probably good eating. It's a land sloth that's 8.5 feet tall.
Oh.
Everyone loves them. They're a great animal.
Land sloth.
I'm sure it'll get its own episode. But
I want
yeah,
that as a pet.
they were just eating fucking armadillo meat and sloth meat.
That sounds delicious.
And,
And-
you probably only need one to feed.
And you just throw them in a cave
100
when you're
people.
done. You
Yeah.
just throw them in a pit. Which just reminds me that of all the terrifying, terrible lizards that, and in this case mammal, we truly are the most evil.
Well, we'll find a way to kill you if
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the definition of evil. The brain.
Humans.
Life is evolution's like a Dungeons and Dragons game, and all of our points are in intelligence, which might turn out to be how you break the game. That might have been the
So
best
far,
bet.
so good. Just make pits of our enemies.
Yeah. So that brings us to the
A happy
final
finish, yeah.
epoch of this podcast, where I gird myself for devastating emotional blow, and ask my dear, dear friends, who I asked to join forces with me to create this podcast, and whose opinions matter very much to me. Is that dinosaur real good? Am I crazy? What's going on, guys?
I think it's I think I'm gonna start building up a standard of so far of the shielded dinosaurs. Obviously, it's the first one.
Right.
It's pretty good volley for the defense dinosaurs.
Right.
Oh, you're separating it into pantheons.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
am.
you got a rubric.
I got a rubric and everything. So I say it real good. So far, so
real good.
Yeah.
Bridgett, how real good this dinosaur?
Look, you guys know me. I'm a competitive person, and you've all come here to rate dinosaurs with me. And as a self-proclaimed Simon Cowell of this podcast, I still have to give this dinosaur a 10 out of 10 turtle shell house.
Yes!
That dinosaur real good.
Wow.
Yeah.
10 out of 10
Yeah.
star power.
It was Glyptodon was pitchy in the middle, I agree.
Yeah, it was a little pitchy.
But they found it. And the way they use their spotlight is that's
Yeah.
star power.
it's going to Hollywood.
What I like is
Baby.
that in order to kill it, humans had to kill it.
Yeah.
That's true.
The bonus points for
Right.
its
No
timetable.
giant dinosaur
Because
killed it.
it's not
Yeah.
like some shitty giant dinosaur made it
No.
extinct. Cool ass humans did.
That's
we-
true.
we had to
Only,
outsmart it. That's the
sharks
only way.
and roaches can look down on the Glyptodon and that
Right.
is
I also
sense.
I'm going to give you extra points for Dinosaur Roomba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even in my notes.
Yeah.
Again, off the dome. The stone
Some
dome
great
in which I will
comparison.
build my home.
Yeah.
I just
Stone Dome.
I picked this dinosaur really because I want to go to a nice restaurant, order clams, eat them, and move into the shell.
And
Why
move-
can't I do that?
Oh, we need to start breeding animals who we can live in again.
I imagine it looks like chicken. I imagine it looks
I
like pieces of chicken.
I wonder what the meat of a glyptodon was like.
I mean, yeah. Oh, because it's a mammal, so it can't be
it's like
chicken-like.
a rodent kind
I
of.
bet. Well, people eat armadillo in Texas.
That is true.
Hey, Texans, how's armadillo taste?
I bet it's rubbery.
That sounded so hostile.
I bet it's oily.
How's your armadillo taste,
But
Texas?
it's oily.
Tell us.
I bet it's unctuous and delicious.
I feel like it would
We'll
have a
never know.
rubbery texture.
Yeah, no interest.
All our
Pass.
ecological conservation needs to be put into
How-
cloning extinct animals so we can find out what they taste like.
Just to kill, not to make a park out of them. We are anti-park.
No. See, how safe would Jurassic Park have been
If we just ate it, if it was
if
a
it was a
restaurant,
buffet? If they were cloned with no brains.
Oh,
it was like the
yeah.
Rainforest
And you
Cafe.
I would still bet a bunch of people from all over the world would be like, look, I'd love to see living dinosaurs, but I get that it's a safety issue. I'm still going to pay to eat a velociraptor steak. Yeah.
Here's what I'd be worried about in that universe. If we could eat dinosaurs, would dino nuggets still exist? Because if so, I stay on this. I
Like-
don't.
Oh yeah.
grinding up dino meat and just
No,
reconstituting
the
it.
chicken nuggets that look like that
Yeah.
are shaped like
Oh.
dinosaurs. Would we
Because
still have
chickens
those?
are like, they.
But you don't have
There's an
chicken
evolution
shapes
But
there.
she's saying, what's the incentive for society
to make
to shape
dino
chicken
nuggets.
meat into dinosaur
know.
shapes if we
If
have
we're-
dinosaur meat readily
Right,
available?
because I don't want to live in a world without dino nuggets.
I don't know why you're not like. I would assume that we would take dinosaur meat and shape it into little chicken shapes.
Just so turnabout is fair play.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay.
That's a good point.
So
That's
if anything, it's an introduction of a new fucking
New shape
paradigm
of,
nugget.
new shape of meat
I will.
into other meat.
Yeah.
I had not been to
Fried
Sizzler in
meats.
15 years.
Yeah.
And as like a larf, I went to Sizzler
Oh.
and got in and saw that because the last time I went 15 years ago, the chicken nuggets were dinosaur shaped.
Right.
Now they don't even have chicken nuggets.
What?
And I was like, well, we're out
why
of
are you
here.
here? Yeah.
we left.
Gotta
the
leave
mighty have
this.
fallen.
You're right. Gotta leave this steakhouse. They don't have chicken nuggets.
Exactly.
How the mighty have fallen.
Adam Ganser has a better Sizzler story. His cushion kept squeaking, so he reached under it to like see what was going on,
Yeah.
and his hand was wet, and he pulled it out. Someone had vomited and flipped the cushion.
That's
I just left.
That's just a scar.
Oh my
right there.
God, that's
Sizzler.
amazing.
Sizzler.
Where America comes home to eat.
Don't
my
worry
favorite
about
story.
it. Just flip the cushion. Sizzler.
That's horrifying, and I love it.
I imagine that most dinosaurs taste like gator.
Gator tastes
Which
like
I've
chicken.
heard tastes like chicken.
Which tastes like chicken.
And snake also tastes like chicken,
like
right?
oily
That's also
chicken.
true. Yes, ask
Are
a
there-
Florida person what
And I know,
reptile
like,
tastes
yeah,
like.
gamey meat is all a category, but it all tastes the same as each other. You guys, there might only be like 5 meat tastes
This
that nature
bothers
has used.
me.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, but a T-Rex should taste unique.
Yeah.
Right.
If you bit into it and it tasted like beef, wouldn't you be like, no?
Well, I kind of see it as like poultry taste. Like
Yeah.
turkey does taste different than chicken ever so slightly.
But you can tell it's in
But
the
you
same.
can tell. So
yeah.
I would imagine dinosaur meat
And
would
duck
be
is different than both.
right.
Yeah. All right. So the nuances of T-Rex meat are still on the
They're,
table.
they're subtle
I also want
nodes,
to
but
see
they
like
exist.
if we can make a foundation like dinosaur lard or dinosaur fat.
Mhm.
Like what would we use that in? What dishes would we?
It would taste very
improve?
oily,
Dino
probably,
town.
Well, yes,
at this point.
but I mean sesame seed oil versus veggie oil versus
I love that
olive oil.
my ulterior motive for the show
butter.
is I wanted us to have a show about how awesome nature is.
Right.
To help combat climate change.
I'm just
and our
real
first
hungry.
episode's
This is
like,
meat.
we should eat all the dinosaurs.
I'm
immediately
real
go
hungry.
You realize that's why the Glyptodon went extinct in the first place. A guy like you said, we should eat all of those.
No, they said we should make a house out of those.
Yeah, that's true.
I
It was
said
that
it was
house.
real good because I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want one.
Replace the feet with wheels. We
Yeah.
got a Volkswagen Beetle.
I feel like I can take this thing out too because if it can't look up, that's a whole range
Yeah.
of motion that I got
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
true.
I just
That
like
dinosaur real good, but Abe real gooder.
Yeah,
I
real-
think it's
real-
Babe up
just-
high.
Yeah.
yeah, just
Dino
real
not real good no
platforming.
more.
Yeah.
Unless it figures out how to take out the platform, then I'm screwed.
Well, I'll cover flying
Right.
Glyptodons next time.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us on What Dinosaur Real Good.
Real good.
Real good.